right, what is up? What's going on, everybody? Today I am here. I'm going to be starting my off-season franchise. I do one every year just before the new game comes out. This year I am going to do something a little different than in years past. Typically, I am used to picking one of my own teams that I follow in the MLB, and this year I'm going off the grid, so to say, and picking somewhat of a random team. I chose this team because they were in the news a little bit last year for kind of the turmoil going on in the clubhouse, and the GM has come out and said this offseason that he is willing to trade anybody. He's kind of backed off those comments recently. But with that being said, I have decided to go with the Chicago White Sox. They intrigue me for those reasons and others. And I think we could have fun with this team, make them relevant again, and kind of see where it takes us as far as free agency and things of the like. So I think there'll be a lot of interesting things we can do with this team, which is kind of why I chose them. Let's get to it. So you'll notice, just first and foremost, my logo is a little different. I did do some custom uniforms. I like to use the creator here, so you're noticing that the logo is a little different. The jersey is a little different. I like to put my little spin on things. Tried to stay true to the White Sox. I know they're kind of iconic uniforms, but I just like to play around. So there's that. As far as the cosmetics, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to try and fly through this first season. I'm just going to kind of go through a lot of the ins and outs and, really just try and get the start of my team on the field. So a lot of moves, a lot of things going on. I'm not going to worry about playing any games, just really going to simulate the season. Likely the result of that is not a very good year, which we are anticipating. For that reason, we are not going to hire any coaches. We will, though, be hiring some scouts. We'll save the coaches for next year. This year is going to be mainly just focusing on the scouting and the draft. So what we'll do today is I won't bore you with all the scouting. I'll just kind of show you some of the stuff that I do and some of the stuff that I've learned. Really, I just want to kind of turn this team upside down and kind of see what we can do, see if we can't maybe have a winning season next season. Jumping in, why don't we kind of take a look at this roster, see exactly what we're dealing with. As I've said, it's not good news. I heard today, actually, that guy right there, Dylan Cease, they were doing hypothetical trades for him. So the best player on the team, or one of the best pitcher on the team, is in talks about being traded. Let's see what we are looking at. Obviously, Luis Robert is the guy probably we're going to be building around. He is the best player on the team. He's MVP candidate last year for first half of the season. Fell off a little bit late, but that's the guy there. Liam Hendricks is in AAA for us for some reason. We'll be moving him up, but he's likely in AAA for his injury. And then Dylan Cease, a guy that I likely won't trade. I do like him a lot, but everybody else, honestly, looks like they could be trade bait. So Andrew Vaughn, maybe a guy we hold on to. Just kind of depends. So just quickly looking at this, there's not much here. Michael Kopech, pretty decent. He is 26, so he's up there. But they are in need of some pitching. I think Clevenger's contract is up. Side note, by the way, I just did the default current rosters. I just did the current rosters that are available. I didn't download anything, so some of the players are still with the teams. Like I believe we have. Oh no, they have taken him off. So they are up today as far as when I started this. So pretty recent, but at the same time, there's going to be some inconsistencies. I'm okay with that. As I said, we're just doing this for fun. So we'll go through here. Like I said, probably need pitching, relief pitchers. That's one place, and we'll talk about it more. I like to build in free agency, so we do have Garrett Crochet, probably a guy will move into the closing role. But other than that, we can really probably work on that through free agency. Obviously, our closer is Liam Hendricks. Whether or not we deal him, we'll just kind of see how it plays out. How it plays out. And then this was the guy they actually have him in the closer spot. Aaron Bummer. He has been traded. We still have him on this roster. So again, a guy they're willing to trade. Probably us too. So we'll move on. And then as far as position players, it's kind of the same story over and over with these guys. They are, and they're all great players, but they never really realized their potential. Grandal kind of came over. I believe he came over from the Brewers. Had some great years with them. He's just kind of up there in age. They do have Corey Lee, who looks like to be a pretty formidable, young catcher that we might be able to use. And let's see, Andrew Vaughn, as we talked about, maybe a keeper there. We'll just kind of see. But no real prospects there. No real prospects there. Elvis Andrews, came over. He's kind of been a journeyman late in his career, but no prospects. Third baseman, Yohan Moncada, still pretty young at 27, but he is only 73. If you would have told me that 5 years ago, I would have for sure said he was an 85 or above in his age 27 season. But he just has not really panned out. A lot of it injuries, a lot of it, going back to the news that was, part of their clubhouse, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe he just needs to change the scenery. So maybe that's what I'm here to do. Colson Montgomery, though, probably looks to be probably their best prospect. Just at a quick glance here, so he's a guy we could hold on to. What I'm seeing is not a lot of A's and B's, really for much anything. Here's another guy that's probably a little better prospect. He's in single A, so we'll be moving him up. And a lot of that, what I'm going to do, basically, what I do with my guys, anybody in A or B, I want them on a team, double A or triple A, playing. I think that's the quickest way for them to get better. I haven't seen a lot of progress in guys in single A. I might be wrong about that, but you also can't see their stats, so you don't really know what's going on there. So that's a guy we'll move up to double A. Like I said, just try and get your best players playing time, or the players you want to progress the most. So that's a guy that definitely needs to be playing. Tim Anderson, though, another guy that's been kind of discussed in trade talks. He's a little bit older, 29. See potential. I don't know if there's going to be a market for these guys, to tell you the truth. So it might be, kind of a grind to, maybe hold on to these guys. We got to get value for them, so we can trade them, but the return, it might not be very good. So we're probably going to have to really build in the draft, and then free agency probably as well. They do have a pretty good budget, so we can work with that. Here in the left fielders, two guys with B potential. This guy obviously came over. Again, he's a 71. Benintendi, when he was with the Red Sox, I wouldn't have guessed that. Jimenez is hurt, often injured. So those are two guys. Do we unload them and try and get rid of them and get something for them? We'll just have to see. Luis Robert, we're gonna obviously keep, and then Gavin Sheets, who is pretty decent. He's a pretty decent player. Again, he just kind of came up, and they didn't really have a position for him. They threw him in right field, and he's kind of stuck there. So He didn't hasn't really progressed. We do have Oscar Colas in the minors, so there's some hope there. Um, but I talk about trading a lot of these guys, all hypothetical, right? Like I'm not going to trade every single one of them, but these are just guys that I can live without. You know, I think that's probably a good thing. Um, Doing a team that I don't hold dear to my heart. I don't really have any ties to anybody. There are guys that I want to kind of have on my team just because I like them as players, but there's a lot that can be done as far as moving the roster around and trying to make us better. As I said, there is a pretty decent budget, so we do have some money to spend, and I believe that the contracts are pretty steep for a lot of these guys. Grandal is 18 million, 18 million, 15, 15, 15. So we are paying a lot of guys a lot of money, guys that really aren't as good as I'd like, for that money. So um, hopefully we can unload them. Hopefully we can retain that money and spend it elsewhere. Um, so basically, I mean, jumping in here, I'll just tell you a couple things that I do. Uh, Obviously, set your sponsorships. Kind of goes unspoken, but they are money makers. So you can put whatever you want in there. I've earned a couple. I've bought a couple. I really just go for anything that looks cool, um, and that makes me some money. So make sure you do that. And then the other important thing to do that can easily be forgot is to check your contracts, check your scouting contracts, just because a lot of times there's better scouts out there, and the better you scout, the easier it is to draft. All right, so the scouting screen looks as follows. If you're familiar with the game, this is nothing new. It is one thing that can be forgotten. So basically, just go through here. What I like to do, I try to get high efficiency on all my guys. I'm not too worried about discovery just because I think there's plenty of players to choose from. What we'll likely do is just probably go for best available in the draft. So with that being said, high efficiency is important, and there's plenty of players for us to choose from. Because if we were more like specified for like a special position, I might think of discovery, but really I don't see a lot of return on the discovery that I do. So um, I don't know. I think you can find 6 picks in your draft. That's another thing. Your first season, your draft is set, so we're at 15. So we kind of know, we're not trying to find the number one pick overall. So what we'll do here is, like I said, just high efficiency. I look for 90 and above efficiency, and then one guy that's good in pitchers, one guy that's good in position players, and then one guy that's kind of a mixture of both. Sometimes that doesn't happen. These are randomized every single time. Um, so you just kind of got to work with it. But let's see who we can find here. Okay, so Page looks pretty good. He's a 91 in efficiency, 87 pitchers, 84 position. So that's pretty good for like an all-around guy. I mean, that guy's really good too. Another thing you gotta think about is your budget too. So you gotta get these guys in there with the budget you're given. So a lot of times, a lot of times you can't get the top 3 guys, but that guy right there might be a good position player, or position scout. And then let's see, oh, there's another 93. So I just stop on the 90 and above efficiency, and then kind of see from there. So that guy, I mean, that's really our 3 guys might be right there if we can swing it as far as the money. And so we have a couple pretty good guys. These guys are just better, and we have 29 4 to work with. So let's just see if there's any. 98. See, but he's only 75 position. 92, 86. Okay, so we kind of have a backup plan. 92, 86. What was this guy? 97, 92. Okay, 90. All right, so yeah, the guys I'm going to try and get here We're going to try and do Franklin Page for our all-around guy. He's the most expensive. We'll just take out our top guy there. If you don't know how to do that, you just go over to your guy, have both of them highlighted, press X. Stein, I think we're going to do for our position guy. So position guy, we'll go here. And then we have 14.5 left. And who is the other guy? Palacios for pitchers. 98. 86. Oh, we're going to have enough. All right. So there we go. 3 guys in 90 and above efficiency. One that has position players and pitchers at 80 and above. Another guy that has position players at 90 and above, pitchers at 90 and above. So that's pretty ideal. Obviously, when you go to scout, make sure you guys are scouting in the respective spots. It just helps in the long run. So with that done, we have those set. Okay, so the next thing that I do, something I learned, well, not learned, but realized needed to be done playing with the Rockies is, for some reason, at the beginning of these franchises, there's a lot of players kind of like stacked in the free agency as far as like prospects that were either cut or undrafted free agents. They tend to be more in the first year and I don't really see them pop up too much in second and third years. So, our farm system is pretty weak. The Rockies is pretty weak too, so that's kind of why I started doing this. But if you go into basically just go to free agents, and you can hop in here, and you can go through here, and there's usually right there, 20-year-old that is 74 overall and a B potential. So the reason why I say to get these guys, I mean that guy might be able to start for our team right away. Let's see what he wants. See, it's from next to nothing. Like I said, I think they're undrafted free agents, but I'm not sure what they technically call them. But there's always the free agent market is always inflated at the beginning of this. So the reason I say to do this, this guy might play for us. We'll probably stick him in AAA. But like let's see. I know there's another guy. Usually I look for guys under 25 and over, like their overall is like over, depending on the position, over 60 ideally. Here's 19-year-old C. Okay, Lindsey Braun, right? So 67, he's 24 years old. He's a B potential. Very unlikely that he'll make an impact on our MLB roster, but with that B potential, when the trade deadline comes around, he's going to be a much better bargaining chip than our D guys that we have there. So I figure take the hit by cutting these guys that are D's and stuff like that, and sign these guys, and you're basically doing a line change on your farm system, and it can make a big impact on the trade market. And there could be guys in here that can make an impact on your team in a couple years. I was doing the Washington Nationals, and I ended up, that's just another kind of weaker team, and I ended up 2 of the guys that I got just doing this at the beginning of my franchise. 2 of the guys were all-stars on my team within 2 years. So the game puts it there, so you might as well take advantage of it. And the thing is it doesn't matter the position, because even if, let's say, your shortstop position is 6 deep and they're all A's but one, why not get the B that's in here? That's the other good thing about these guys is you're not really attached to them, right? Like you can get attached to some of your prospects and not really want to trade them because you're hoping they get better. These guys are just kind of no names that kind of were put here to be picked up, and why not pick them up and make your team better? So I'm going to go through here just real quick. I will go over who I pick up, but this will take a little bit of time. I'm just going to go position by position, including relief pitchers, and just go through. And like I said, if they are under 25 and a B potential or better, they are that's 52. They're signing with my team. So let me see what I can find here. Also, be weary when you're doing this, just because you can run into some with cutting a lot of these guys and putting them on waivers and stuff like that. Not so much really with the free agent pickups, but you can run into some issues with waivers and having too many guys on waivers and stuff like that. So just be mindful you're dropping the amount you're gonna pick up. What I usually do is I try and keep it equal. I drop D D potential guys. Obviously, I'm just a big potential guy, right? But D potential and anybody in the 50s can kind of go. So um, if you just kind of look at your roster, I mean, these guys are in the 40s. You can get rid of them, and you can go bottom up if you want to. But like I said, just make sure you're making it equal, so that way you're not having to make pickups and put guys on waivers and do a lot of stuff that puts you in trouble later on. I usually go position by position and just make it equal. Like I said, if I'm swapping a 62D for a 65B, I'm okay with cutting that guy, especially since he's in single A anyways. So just keep that in mind, and it'll kind of come into play later when we set these lineups because there's going to be a lot of moves to make and get all these guys playing. So all right, so we are done with that. I did get some guys, uh, not quite as much as I would have hoped for, but I think there's a lot more quality there than quantity. Still got like 10 guys, so let me run through here. I did kind of move a couple guys up and down just as I was picking them up. I'll kind of tell you more about that, but I think we got a good bunch of prospects here just from the free agency. So as far as starting pitching, that guy that we had seen right away, Shell, we went ahead and picked him up. So 20, 74 overall. I'm going to leave him in AAA just because I think he could be an asset to our team next year. And we're not going to mess with the Major League roster too much this year. It's kind of like a tank season. We're going to be simulating the whole year. So don't really care too much about the record. And I don't want to move him up and have him have a credit year and blow his potential. So um, that's a guy that typically it wouldn't matter, but because he's a 74, I'm gonna kind of handle him with with delicate hands here. So we did get him, and then we went with Lindsey Braun. He's 67B. He's 24 years old, so I don't really see him making like a huge jump. I don't see him making a huge jump, but at least we got him on our roster. Hopefully, he excels where we decide to put him, and we can use him as trade bait. Um, and then we did get a younger guy here, Robbie Myers, 20 years old, 65B potential. Great guy to have on the team if we don't trade him. So as far as relievers, the first time I've seen a reliever in there as far as a prospect, so to say, in Kelly Barger. So I moved him right up to the major leagues just because I know relievers are kind of hard to find. I mean, not hard to find, but there's not a lot of great ones. So maybe he grows into something special there. That's a good pickup. First reliever I've seen when doing that. So next we hit big in the closing pitchers. Stevie Cabrera and Aguero there. Two A's, 20 and 18. I mean that's huge. I feel like the game has a lot of closers, especially in like the scouting and draft and stuff like that. But to get two more definitely doesn't hurt. So two guys there. So we did really well in the pitching. Position players, not so much. Not really a catcher there. We did get a first baseman in Herbert Camp, 61B potential. Not bad. Again, these are guys that we're not expecting to, really be full time starters, but we're expecting them more to be kind of trade bait. If they work out, they work out. Like I said before, I have had them work out. Um, I feel like maybe that pitcher could work out, the starting pitcher, the reliever. Um, and then we did pick up a second baseman. I kind of stretched a little bit here with Jeremy Castro. I think the guy we had down there was like a 54, so got a little better there. I don't know if anything will come of it, but at least we got him on the team. And then this was huge. We got a potential infielder, which is uh, rare for me. I don't see him a lot as far as getting guys from free agency to start a franchise. So Martin Diaz, he's actually a little bit better than Montgomery right now. So we have two legitimate starters for our minor leagues there, which is big time. And then I would kind of stretch there again with Brock Capaneris. Again, just having him on our team. Outside of that, not much available. I could have stretched maybe in the outfield and gotten somebody there, but I didn't. So like I said, it was a good 10 guys that we got. We did have to take the hit on the guys that we cut, but I think it's worth it in the end because I think our team looks much better as far as basically our farm system, and I think that'll go a long way in the trade deadline. So obviously we'll continue to add to it with the draft and everything like that, but we have a little better look now um, than we did to start in my mind. So now, like I said, I did make a couple moves already, just kind of quick moves. Um, I'm gonna make the rest of the moves now. Like I'm gonna move Liam Hendricks up. I think I'll have to. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to probably put some guys on waivers. And I won't bore you with that. So let me just get through there, and then we'll take a look at the lineups once I'm done and see what we're looking at. Main thing here, at least for me, is getting my prospects playing time. Like I said, with those third basemen, want those guys split probably in Double A and Triple A. We could move, a guy to a different position if we want. Um, but I'm going to keep them as is and see what they can do just in the minors. Just because we got some prospects kind of all over the board now. So, like Jacob Gonzalez should be in Double A. So, um, let me go through. I won't bore you with it. Let me get this done, and then we'll check the lineups and see what we look like. All right. So I didn't have too much trouble with that, which was a good thing. Didn't have to put anybody on waivers, which was good. I kept it pretty vanilla as far as pitching and stuff, but we can take a look now and just kind of make sure. Like I said, Major League roster is not going to change too much. I didn't really add anybody um, as far as position players or anything like that. We're just going to kind of keep it as is. We might play Gavin Sheets a little bit more. Let me move this real quick. Okay, so we might play Gavin Sheets a little bit more, especially against right-handers. Where he's going to fit in, probably DH. Naquin's good with right-handers. So just kind of go through. We want Gavin playing because he's a B potential. Maybe he can get a little bit better. Benintendi's a little bit older, but he is a B potential as well. So two guys that hopefully we can find him some playing time. Um, don't know if they're gonna carry on. Um, the reason why I say like everyone's being traded is I don't know who we're trading yet. So uh, it's hard to say who's going to be on the team. If somebody likes Gavin Sheets and we can get something out of him, then we'll go ahead and do it. I'm not really stuck to anybody except for really Luis Robert and maybe Andrew Vaughn, maybe. So um, that's why I'm kind of saying everybody's up, But the most important thing is we made all those moves, so like our Double A roster is blank. So basically, I'm just going to go through here and make sure like Capaneros, make sure Capaneros is in the starting lineup. So you just go through and kind of make sure. I don't think we have a right fielder here, so all right, we might have to move up a right fielder. Anyways, let's see, where is our third baseman? Okay, so like I said, so Capaneros, he's a B, also plays first base. We might keep him at first base. I mean, we do have Camp, but Diaz is the guy that we really want playing there. So make sure he's playing, and then anybody else. Um, I normally go off of potential, especially if they're close. Like with Womack and Sanchez here, I'm gonna play Sanchez as much as possible just because he's got that potential um, to grow. So I'm gonna go through here and set my lineups, and also we'll take a look at the pitching rotation again. Not too much. The only thing here, I just want to make sure like I got a reliever there and I got Braun over there. So just moving guys around, making sure your starters are where they need to be and everything like that. That way, like Braun can be, he'll probably be the number one starter. Get him as many innings as possible. We also have Elder in here, and I believe the other guy, Robbie Myers. So Aguero is a closer. Get him out of there. Move Aguero to that closing role. Simple, easy. Get it done, and then we can get to the scouting and yeah, get a move on this. We'll get to the trade deadline. We'll get to the draft, and then we'll have a completely new look team come next year. So I'm going to try and get through a little bit more this episode. Maybe get through the scouting. Again, the scouting is kind of time consuming. I'm not going to waste a lot of your time with it. Um, but if we can get to it, that'd be great. Okay, got that done. We got our lineup set here. Again, I just was playing the basically the highest potential in each position. Obviously you can't get them all to be, in there. I had some trouble with Capaneris. He's going to be um, playing against left-handers only, just because he has a 59 and we do have a 63. He's a D potential, but just kind of playing around with it. We did get Jacob Gonzalez in all the lineups, Martin Diaz. So some of the new guys we moved up are in there. But again, there are some D's here in Double A. Swaggerty is an older player, but still want to make sure he's getting some playing time. Sanchez didn't leave too much, especially against our left-hand pitcher. I think we got them all in there. You can see I'm just clicking through and checking the potential. So they're all good there. AAA, same thing. Just making sure all the guys we want playing are playing. Double checking here. Again, hard to hard to get it all correct and get A's and B's on both teams, but I think we did a pretty good job. Definitely those free agent pickups make our team fill out a little bit better. Looks like we got a guy here that might be able to find some playing time here. Maybe not. So like this guy, he's gonna have trouble playing. He's gonna be the fourth outfielder though, so not too worried about that. Um, but again, just get everybody in there that you can, and West Cath is another one. So we'll see how it plays out. Maybe a guy takes over, but we definitely want our top prospects like Colson Montgomery, and then we have Gonzalez, Diaz, those guys playing as much as they can. And I think we've achieved that there. So that's what that looks like. We already took a look at the major league roster earlier. So the pitching rotations, again, like I showed you before, just getting our new guys in there and the guys that we moved up and want to see, or in Kopech's situation, we moved him down, trying to get him a little bit better and maybe have a good year. Um, don't know what the future holds for him. Might just, if he gets hot down there, we might just cut him loose and trade him. So, um, we'll just have to see. A lot has to do with when you hit the trade deadline. A lot has to do with how they're doing on the season. So moving him to AAA, he'll be able to face some lesser competition, maybe get a little better there. So now we move on to the scouting portion. So we're not going to go week by week with this. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of show you what I like to do as far as what gets me the best results. Um, a lot of times I'll scout guys and be sure that they're in mid 60s A potential or B potential, and then it doesn't turn out that way when I draft them. So the scouting does seem to be pretty random, or a lot of chance in who you pick. There are guys out there that are 18 years old, A potentials in the 70s, or I've seen 80s, and with a 99 potential overall. So those are like hits in the draft. There's usually one every couple. Obviously, the prospects change. They're randomized every year, and they're randomized each time you start a franchise. So to find those guys, you just do your best to kind of do that. So, like I said, I'm going to show you how I do my scouting. It seems to work out pretty well for me. I normally get A's and B's as far as potential, which is kind of what you want. Only difference here with the White Sox is we kind of need to move fast. So we want guys in the like 60s and 70s that can maybe start sooner rather than later. That way we don't have to rely on free agency and trading. Um, that's going to be tough to do, just because the scouting class might not have a lot of talent in it. Um, but there's stuff to find out there, and it's there's a little luck involved, but the way that I do it, I think it makes the most sense to me. And like I said, if there's another way, you can go ahead and leave it in the comments for me. I'd love to be better at it, because I feel it is pretty random. But let's hop in here. The scouting always starts on the first Sunday. We'll move to MLB here. Starts on the first Sunday of April, and then every Sunday thereafter. I'm sure you probably know that. There's not a lot of time to scout when you really think of it, because there's only 14 total weeks. So when you go in there and you're scouting your players, that's kind of why I'm a little bit methodical about it. Is I take the first 7 weeks of scouting, and broaden my scope, and then I narrow it down as I get closer to the to the draft. So a lot of times too, it depends on where you are in the draft. If you're looking for that top tier guy, you know that you can be dead set on a guy for the your number one or number two pick two guys, and then it really opens up the board for the rest of the scouting. Makes it a little bit easier, whereas we kind of have to scout the whole first round, because we're smack dab in the middle. um, are you going to be able to do that? Probably not. So we'll take a look at the positions. I'll kind of tell you what I think of each, and um, why I kind of do what I do. So let's go ahead and just get to that first Sunday. So give you notice, and then we'll just exit out, and no, 3-0. We'll go to the scouting screen. Looks as follows. Again, not gonna go too much in detail. This new game's coming out soon, but three priorities. That's why we hired the way we did, with kind of an all around guy, pitching scout, and then a position scout. So those are the three kind of places we're gonna focus. Um, Before we move on, though, address your positional needs, because it helps with the interest, which is like big in when you go to sign these guys after they're drafted. So whatever you think you're going to draft the most of, or if you're only focusing on three positions to draft, go ahead and do that. For us, if you just take a look at that list, we have one position in the top 10, uh, three other positions in the top 20, and then the rest is garbage. The relievers and closers, that's great. But if you look at our lineup, we're in a lot of trouble. So before we set our positional needs, we're going to take a look at the positions so that way we can get a better idea of what we want. I'm pretty sure we're going to want like a starting pitcher, and then it seems as though you know each year there's maybe a hot spot in here somewhere, second, third, shortstop. So we'll probably pick one of those, and then probably one of the outfield positions. As far as catcher, closing pitcher, relief pitcher, um, you can. There's always, I feel, a closing pitcher to find, if not five. So it's not too bad if we miss on a closing pitcher this year. We can get one next year. Get one late this year and early next year. But anyways, we'll take a look here. If you want to look at the prospects, click on that first priority, and then go to Scout Prospect. Okay, so if you look here, we have a center fielder 1-1. Um, we don't necessarily need a center fielder, right? That's probably the guy we're building around, is our center fielder. But what you can always do is draft him and move him to another position, especially if he's going to be that, that guy that's your 80 overall, 99 potential type player. We don't have the first pick. So we're not going to really worry too much. We're just going to go position by position and kind of see if we can find some hot spots for us to kind of dive into. Starting pitching, I won't look too much at these guys. Every year I scout the entire pitching, you know, all the regions, um, just because there's a ton of pitchers I feel like, and there's a lot that you can find there. So each year I think there's always guys from 55 overall with 99 potential to guys that are like out of college that are 74s that could make an impact on our team with like potential B. So there's always stuff to find in pitching. I usually always draft pitching somewhere, um, because they're good to get on your team, and they're some of them can be hit or miss, and you can always trade them, and they have high trade value. So um, the pitching, like I said, we don't have to look too much into regions here. Um, the one thing I do look for in all positions when I'm scouting, and it seems to be kind of like the trick for me, is the two different draft ranks. That's the first part of it, I guess. If the draft rank that our team has, you'll see our team draft rank on the right. If it moves up past where the MLB draft rank is, that means two things. It means that guy's better than what we originally thought, and two, he's probably a steal in the draft. Now there are times where you scout a guy and he moves up like 40 spots, but other teams see that too. But most of the time, especially like in the pitching, if there's guys that shoot up, you can pick them, um, you know, just before the major league draft rank, and be fine. Even though if they're like a, let's say this guy's like 93 draft rank, or and we have him at like 15, we can still draft him at that 90 spot, but he's gonna have 15 talent according to us. Top 15 talent. So that's what I look for. Um, when we're scouting. It's easy to say for pitching because we were going to scout the entire thing, so we're going to see that in all these guys. We're going to see what we think their true draft rank is. The big thing with pitching though is the non-ranked guys, and I guess it's for all positions, but the non-ranked guys that move into our draft rank. First of all, they become available for us to draft, whereas if anybody is non-ranked, they won't show up in the draft room for us to draft. Also, other teams won't see them, so you can pick those guys like your last two or even three picks. And I've seen, especially in the closers, guys go from not ranked to like 15. Now, there's only like 6 or 7 closers sometimes in the year, so all the guys are scouted. Those guys usually get picked. But as far as starting pitching, if you see a non-ranked guy and they jump up, you can likely pick them pretty close to last. So starting pitching, we're gonna do all that. I don't scout relief pitchers. Um, I've never found talent there. I've scouted all the relief pitchers. I've scouted, um, you know, a draft that looked like it had promising relief pitchers, and I can't find talent there. I don't know if the game is expecting you to move your closing pitching to relievers, or why they don't put any real talent there. I can't find any. I don't know why that is, so I don't scout it. That's why I usually get my relievers through like free agency, or what we'll likely do if we get a bunch of closers is we'll move them to relief pitcher. Um, you do kind of see a dip in their overall rating a lot of times when you do that, but if you're not drafting anything in the relievers anyway, you got to find a way to cover your relievers somehow. So with that being said, the closing pitching is great. Like I think there's like three or four every year that are very good, if not great, and that's why I try and find a couple like non-ranked guys and pick them. Kind of figure out where they're going to be drafted and pick them. Second or third. You can find a lot of talent there, and I think that's kind of, I guess, where they put their elite relievers. They just put them all into the closing pitching. So the one thing I failed to mention before, when you're looking at these prospects, and I'll kind of give you an idea with comparing the closing and the relievers here, closing pitchers. Um, I always look at the potential and the overall ratings, and I don't necessarily look at um, too much to begin with, but mainly just go off the color, right? So anybody in blue, they're probably, if they have two blue colors in potential, that's probably somebody you want to try in scout, especially if that's something you want to draft. And then the overall rating, usually as you move forward in scouting, it becomes easier to kind of see who you want to scout more, which is why we kind of do a broad. We're going to do a broad scout for the first 7 weeks, and then we'll kind of narrow it down as we get into it. But once you get them scouted just a little bit, kind of in the general scout that we're going to do, you'll see it become more clear. And usually, guys with the overall that are closer together, um, those are the guys that are maybe hit or miss. So more of this will become clear as we scout. So I'll probably go over like the first, 3 weeks, kind of show you exactly what I'm doing, 3 or 2 weeks. Um, but if you look here, like these, like that guy, maybe not in Peters, but like this guy, um, I don't even know how to say that last name. John W. Uh, Wozniacki, uh, that guy, and then and above, those guys are all probably pretty good. So there's I would say four, what was it, five guys in here out of not many, might be a little bit more to start, 15 or so. Um, then the relief pitchers, where they all kind of seem to be the same guy, right? There's not a lot of like narrow numbers like the 85 to 99. They're all 65 to 99, because it's like every time you start to scout them, that drops, and it's like, well, that guy was worthless. So we have one guy that's 85 to 99. So you can mess with relievers, and if you find some, let me know. I have not found them, and there's a bunch more relievers than there are closers. But again, I don't know if you saw when we went to the kind of the back of the list here. Those non-ranked guys, those are kind of like the diamonds in the rough that you gotta find to see if they'll hop up the ranks. Like that guy is kind of in the dark, but he's you know just hasn't been scouted yet. So we'll get to that when we do the scouting. Um, so that's kind of the pitchers there. All the starting pitchers, no relievers, closers, probably a couple, maybe the international and maybe one other. Um, Catchers look okay. Again, it's a tough position to find. It's just hard to find them really anywhere in the game. It's a tough position. Um, First base. So it looks like we got guy 18, 43, and I'm just kind of looking at the draft ranks to see kind of what they think is stacked. Um, so there's a couple first basemen. Looks like some real good second baseman. Three in the top 10 is what they're saying. So we'll probably scout second base. Again, we need everybody. We need every position. So third base, one guy. Is that guy going to fall to us? Probably not. We might scout a couple just in case, but like the top three, I'm probably saying it's a no go. Um, and then shortstops doesn't look like there's a stud shortstop. First one looks to be late first rounder. Left fielder, um, again, a place we could probably get better. Len Castro, so one guy, and then a couple like second rounders. You want to look too, like if you see there's like some depth there, like in the scouting, then you also got to pick guys in the second and third and fourth round. So it doesn't mean we're not gonna scout shortstops at all. There are some guys that looks like in the mid rounds, but just for our first pick is kind of what I'm looking for and where we're gonna scout, and that's kind of where we'll start. So center fielder, that guy, we don't need a center fielder, but we could grab him and maybe move him if he drops, which I doubt he will. Typically, there seems to be some depth at center field. Corner is a little bit harder to find. I just from my experience. One guy in the top, and then that really kind of drops off. So right fielders probably not. So what we'll likely do, we're definitely going to start with starting pitching, and then I think I liked just the idea of having three guys, three second basemen that high up. So um, let's just see what Dominican, Pennsylvania, and Japan. Two of the three guys are international. So and this will become clear when we scout. So that's the international region for second baseman. So we'll likely scout there. And then, do we just want to? And so, like I said, we have three guys, and we're going to be scouting kind of like in a general scope, just kind of like in a general way for the first half of the scouting. So the first 7 weeks, I'm going to spend just scouting positions and not individual position players. That way we can get a better idea of the guys we want to scout more instead of just randomly going in there. And then the last 7 weeks leading up to the draft, that's when we'll kind of try and figure out our first, hopefully all of our rounds, but our first, 3 or 4 rounds of some guys that we want. So with three scouts, you're looking at 18 players, max. And a lot of times you can't get a full 100%, and sometimes you need to scout a little more. You find a player somewhere else and you want to scout that region. But in general, that's kind of what I like to follow. So with that, if I know later on that I'm going to scout, shortstop for middle rounds, I can go ahead and take care of it. Take care of it now. So what you can do is if you know that you're going to be scouting, for the first 7 weeks generally, and eventually you want to scout the shortstops, but they're not a high priority for you. You can always save that for one of the weaker scout that you have and get that out of the way up front. So I'm looking at this guy for possibly the second round. So he's from California. We got Indiana, Washington, Washington D.C., Pennsylvania, Puerto Rico. Okay, then it kind of drops. So two guys in the West. So what we'll do, like I said, with our weaker position player guy, we're going to do scout position, and then we're going to do shortstop west. Oops. Oops. We're going to do shortstop west, and I'm going to scout each position that I choose for 2 weeks. So that'll give me, if you look, we'll look on this next one so I don't have to move my camera. So the next one is another position guy. He is going to be scouting a position. He's going to do the second baseman because that looks to be where we want our first pick, hopefully, to be. So he'll do second base international. And then our third guy is our pitcher. And we can just start him off just starting pitching west because he's going to be doing all the starting pitching. And then if we find some closers, we'll get him doing the closers too. So we're going to do this each for 2 weeks. And as I said, if you look, that gives us 15% scouting per week. So that means that most guys are at 5 or 10%. So we'll have guys at 40 or 35%, and that gives you a much clearer view of who you want to narrow in on. Now, if you want to hyper focus on a position, scout for 3 weeks, get up to 45, 50%. Um, that's probably the best way to do it. But we need so many guys on our team that I'm only going to do it for 2 weeks. So typically, if like probably next year when we're going to hone in probably on a couple positions, we'll do it for 3 weeks, get them to 50, and then you can scout much more concise that way. So we'll do advanced week, and then we're gonna just simulate through all this. Jose Arena, and most of these I'm going to do auto this year, just because, like I said, our record does not matter to me. There's going to be a whole new coaching staff next year, and we're going to have a winning attitude. Andrew Benintendi, 2 weeks. Yeah, I can put him on. I'll put him on the injured reserve. Um, so you can either go back and double check. I don't think it makes a difference. It just carries on to the next week. Welcome everyone. A very happy. And then we'll scout the next week. We'll just do auto fix, auto utilize. 2 to 3 months. Yikes. Okay. So go to the scouting screen, and then what I do, I'm a little OCD about it, but you view prospect list, and recently scouted, so we did our scouting pitchers. So this is all the pitchers in the West that we scouted. In my OCD, I write down the guys that I like, so I don't forget them, just because we're going to be doing it, in 2 phases. But however you want to do it, you can just hop back in here. It's pretty easy to find who we're going to do. Sometimes I take chances or, a little bit of risk, but basically what we're looking for, like I said, that draft rank jump. So the difference between the MLB draft rank and our team's draft rank. So this guy dropped. So not real big on him. What we're looking for is guys like this and better, right? So if you look, he was 77th, or still is 77th, on their draft board. He's moved up to 52 for us. So, granted, we've scouted 70% of him, so he might not move a lot more than that. But you can see his potential has shrunk to, what is that, 13, points. And his overall isn't, probably where we'd like it with the 52. That's pretty low. But this looks like a guy that could be, potential, an A potential, B potential guy. Now he's 21, so you probably want his overall a little bit better. But if you just take a look at him, those are kind of the guys that you'll see as you look at your prospects more and more. The guys that kind of stick out and the guys that, you want to draft. So we didn't really find a lot in the West. I'm surprised. West usually has some guys. So let's look at the second baseman we drafted. So this guy jumped up to 5. So if you look, he's a little bit better, 59 to 72 overall. And this guy is even better. Now, his potential isn't where I'd like it, but you will notice that the guys that are coming out of college, their potential is more narrower because, the game is assuming that they're college players, so there's been 4 years of scouting, especially if they're 21, whereas a high school kid, hasn't been scouted very long. So that's kind of the difference there, or at least how I equate it. So this guy is actually a pretty good high schooler. Granted, his spreads are a little bit more, but his overall is up to an 81. His potential is still at a 98, potentially. So that's definitely a guy we want to scout more. And he did the big move, right? 27 to 7. So that's a guy that the Major League Baseball is saying we're going to have a shot at 15, and that might be a guy. That was not what I was expecting. So, but you just kind of do this like I said, for the first 7 weeks. This guy won't show up on our draft board anymore. Um, and the big thing, what you want to be looking for each time you do this, each position you go through, you want to look for. Let's see, if we have any shortstops. Shortstops a lot of times are our guy. See, there you go, George Whitmore, another guy, 45. I doubt he'll drop to like the third round, but maybe second round guy. That's our potentially our middle infield. Like I said, you gotta understand that there is a lot of randomness in it. So drafting a guy and not hitting on him happens. Um, but you the things to look for that I've looked for seem to pan out. Let's see if I can get an idea of kind of this last thing I want to talk about here. Okay, so we didn't see it there. So basically, when a guy moves up from a non-ranked list into your list, typically those are guys I want to scout. So I'll show you one when I get one. But that's basically what we're gonna do for the next 7 weeks. Um, when I find one of those non-ranked guys, I'll show you. I won't waste too much of the time, going through each position like that. But that's just kind of a general idea of kind of what I look for, and what we're going to be looking for, the rest of the scouting. So make sure you cancel out of these and set your new positions. We know that our pitcher is going to go just next up, starting pitching central, and then you might need to look through it a couple times, but just make sure you get to the all portion, and then we might do center fielders just so that way we have a good idea of who's out there. Len Castro seems to be falling right into our laps, so it might be good to do left fielders. Let's see, right fielder didn't seem that deep. Um, First baseman, again, we might come back to these guys, but just for now, we might just stick with shortstops because I think there was a couple international guys, right? No, Central, East. He's moving up, so might be just do international maybe. There you go, Dominican Republic moving up a little bit. The international does seem to have more guys that jump up the list for me. Again, probably because they don't get seen a lot, like in the fictional world. Just kind of like the college, high school, difference there. Um, so I like to scout internationally a lot, especially in this early portion. So we'll have him stick with shortstop, and then we'll do international, and then this guy will do second. Oh no, what did we say? Left field. So we may want to do a couple left field positions. Just depending on what we see. So with the way that I do it, I always just keep in mind that I have 7 weeks that basically are cut in half because we're doing 2 weeks for each, especially this year, uh, with 3 scouts. So that leaves 12 position regions that I can, kind of explore. So I just keep that in mind, kind of in the back of my head, as I move forward. Obviously you can't scout everybody. When I do find a non-ranked guy move up, I'll let you know. It'll probably happen right after these 2 weeks. Um, the other thing I probably won't do a lot of, I'll maybe check, at the end of each month, check my lineups, make sure everybody's playing that needs to be playing. Just kind of keeping track of my injuries and stuff like that. Just because down the road, come trade deadline and stuff like that, we're gonna want those to know where those guys are as far as um, what type of season they're having and stuff like that. So usually monthly this first year, just to kind of check in on the club and see what's going on. Um, so I'll do that each month, and we'll do the scouting here until the draft is, you know, usually it's the Saturday before All Star. So we're gonna scout all the way up to there. So let me do some scouting and stop it every couple times and let you know if I find anything. Likely we'll just kind of do a recap at the end. But if I do find that new non-ranked guy, uh, be sure to let you guys know. But otherwise, I won't take too much of your time here. and we'll just move along. All right, and wouldn't you know it, that next round of scouting did produce what I was looking for. So this is what I'm talking about here with Garrett Cheney, a non-ranked player moving into the draft rank for our team. These guys are guys that I follow all the time. They're great if you can't find anybody because they're usually they hit whether their overall rating is there or not. you know doesn't really matter in this case, especially because he's only 18. But these are the guys that I kind of look for, guys that jump up. And then two, the added bonus with these non-ranked players, a lot of times they're not on anybody's draft board but yours. So they're guys that you can count on late in the draft, and they tend to do pretty well for me. They tend to be A's and B's most of the time. Um, if you're willing to sacrifice the overall rating, uh, they're they're guys that you can stick on your team and kind of see what they'll do. So I'm gonna get through the rest of the scouting here. Like I said, I'll stop it if I do see anything. Okay, so we are into week 9 of the scouting now. We have scouting all the regions I intended to scout. Did all the starting pitching. I did do a couple international position players with the catcher, and I think I did right field, and then we did the closing pitching international. I felt those had the most prospects, but as you can see, didn't find too much there. We also did 2 regions for the left fielders, 2 regions for the shortstop, just because, like I said, there seemed to be a little bit of depth there. But now we move on. Now we're going to do the second portion of the scouting, and that's where I go in and I just find guys that I want to scout individually, but I use the same kind of method that I did before, where my pitching guy is going to scout only pitchers, obviously, and then we have our all-around guy and our position player guy. So you just hop in here. You can do recently scouted, that's just from the last 2 weeks. Um, I like to do the team rank. Just gives me a better idea of where we're at. Here you can see like Robert Cordero went from a non-ranked all the way up to 6. We do have him 70% scouted, but that's one we might want to hop on. And he looks to be at age 21, looks to be one of those college kids that might be like a B overall, but have that high overall rating. So maybe a guy we look at. The good thing about him is we can look at him in the late rounds because, like I said before, those non-ranked guys tend to not show up on other teams' draft lists. So um, because he's already at 70%, I'm going to leave him alone for now. I mainly want guys that aren't fully scouted. Like Randy Griffin will probably get scouted. He's 79 all the way up to 9 for us. Those are the guys that I want to get to like an 80, 90%. To get everybody to 100% is going to be difficult this year just because I'm going to try and scout as many people as possible. In the years that follow, obviously, our team will be filled out a little bit better, and then we can scout, full positions, things like that. But for now, we're just going to kind of go through, make sure we get a pitching prospect scouted, and then probably 2 position players. And we'll do that each time until each week until the kind of our position players run out. As far as who we all want to scout. Like I said, what I tend to do is I write down the players that tend to jump up, just so that way I have a better idea of who to scout later on. That's just my OCD, but you can do it however you want. We're just going to hop in there. We're going to go with our pitching guy, and we're going to scout probably not, a number 2 guy. Somebody like that looks good. We had a bunch of guys kind of move up. This guy's a guy I'm looking at just because his draft rank is at like a 30, so he's someone that might be able to fall to the second round for us. Keep in mind too, you're going to have 18 prospects to scout over the 6 weeks that we have left. If we want to keep the pitching guy only scouting pitching prospects, he's going to have 6 guys to scout. So just kind of keep that in mind. We do have the all-around guy to help out with pitching or wherever we need. but there are a couple guys in here. Crook, uh, I think might scout him just because he's moving up and he's at an 18. Um, I like that his overall is maxed out at 79 right now, and his potential is 70 to 98. Um, so we might scout like Griffin here later on. It just kind of depends. Like I said, I kind of just hit on Crook because he might be maybe somebody that could first or second guy. So just because he's a little bit further down on the list, Griffin might be there later on, even at the only 35% scouting progress. So we'll do Crook here, and then move on to a position player. We'll do scout prospect, um, and here I think we're gonna that guy that jumped up here with Robert Nomo. Again, that guy's probably a guy we might look at in the first round. So you can kind of see where I'm going with this. This first week, I'm kind of knocking out the first round. Crook is one of those guys that's kind of in the middle. This guy too, but they're all kind of in a similar spot. The all around guy will. Let's see. I don't know if there's another second baseman. We did scout shortstop a lot, so again, that guy there probably needs to be scouted. Um, so we'll just stick with there, and that's just kind of what you do. It doesn't. There's no right or wrong to who you scout. It's just whoever you see fit, and you can take in a little deeper look. Like Whitmore looks highly projected in a lot of the categories, so he might be a good guy to get in the first round. Problem is we're at, like I said, we're at 15, so it's going to be tough to really hone in on one guy. So that's why we're scouting as many players as we are. Um, at this point, though, this is kind of where you want to look at the top bars here. Make sure you're putting them right. Make as far as in order. You'll see if you switch them to like a priority, their interest changes. The scouting will kind of stay the same as far as percentage per week, but you see like our top two guys here, they're not going to get to 100%. You can scout for 2 weeks and try and get them to 100% if you really want to know exactly where they're at. Obviously, you'll get better results that way. As far as us and where the White Sox are currently at, we're just going to try and blaze through it and get as many done, and hopefully we can land some prospects and get uh, lucky, pretty much. So we're gonna simulate a week, 1 to 2 months. So no other real big news in the as far as trades or anything like that. Nothing really big happened. Um, and then the only difference with the scouting now is each week you'll go in and, and kind of take a look. So looks like we got three solid guys here that we just kind of looked at. I like that each one's 18, and then if you look at their potential, it's starting at a 76. So with that, you have a better chance of getting a C, B, or A. Now there are times where the potential is over scouted and they're lower. More often than not, that's kind of why we get the efficiency rating. Um, it tends to be, these guys are probably going to be B's or A's. So these are three guys that easily we could pick in the first round. And then two, their overall rating isn't at like a 59, like you'll see is just as you go through the players. These guys all have overall ratings that are fairly high. So all three of these guys ended up being a pretty good second scout here. We can go ahead and cancel them, and then you just continue on doing that each week. I'm not going to go through each week with you. Um, we'll be able to see the guys I scouted just because a higher um, they'll have a higher scouting. So, and a lot of times, like I said, the college kids get scouted a little bit more just because there's more to see of them. So I won't go through every player I'm gonna scout. I'll just scout like the first 2 weeks or at least show you guys, and then that way we can move on and it's not the same thing over and over because, like I said, we're just going to go in, go to our pitching guy, and then pick another guy. So, like I said, Crook is ended up being our second, prospect off the pitching board there. Just kind of get a wide range of guys, all over your draft board. That way, there's guys that you've scouted that maybe you weren't anticipating on taking, but they're there at your spot. Um, like I said, the pitching seems to be more in abundance than, let's say, the position players. So that's why we're kind of putting an emphasis there. But we'll go with Moynihan here, and then for our position player guy, I'm just kind of going through each region I scouted. I mean, essentially, we started with the second baseman, shortstop combination, and then went to left field, um, and just going through and picking one or two guys. Sometimes three, depending on if there's a lot there, and then the starting pitching, like I said, as many as we can get, just so that way they're kind of our fallback choice when some of our position players aren't there. And if you look on the top left, that kind of gives you an idea. And what I tend to do is, so round two, we're the 50th overall pick, because there's compensation picks, some stuff like that. So a draft rank is 63 for the major leagues here with Villalobos, and we have him at a 26. So essentially, we're getting a late first rounder in our minds, possibly in the second round. The 63 is telling me at least that he's going to be there in round two, or hopefully. So that's like a guy that I like to scout. You can also go off like their bonus demand. Obviously the guys that are highly touted want a little bit more money. Um, I've never really ran into budget problems when signing these guys. Unless you get all guys that are in, that want first round money, but that typically doesn't happen. So we'll go with Villalobos. I like that guy there. Like I said, 18 years old. His overall is a little bit lower than I like, but we'll see what we can do. And then another prospect we'll do. I don't know. I mean, we did scout two regions for left field, so maybe somebody like. See, he's pretty highly scouted, and he dropped in our rankings. Daniels is really the only other left fielder uh, that jumped up. Maybe we just finish up with the left fielders and call it good there. Say we got our two left fielders that we're going to scout. Again, make sure you take a look at the interest. Get the lowest interest up towards the top. But it looks like all three of these, well, that guy's not going to get fully scouted, but neither is he. But you kind of see what I'm doing. I'm just going. These guys are a little bit lower overall than I'd like as far as these last two. Uh, but basically, all I'm doing is randomly picking a couple guys. Hopefully, they hit on them, and then you have some options because we're going to be, going through and scouting, 18 total players, and then you're going to have those college kids that are already at like the 70% scouting. So you have a lot more understanding of who you're drafting by doing it this way, and that's why I do it. So, like I said, I'm not gonna show you the rest of the weeks. I'm probably gonna, just go region by region that I scouted. Um, Probably scout a couple. We can take a look here and just kind of give you an idea of what I'm gonna do. Um, more starting pitching, and then I'm probably gonna find some closers to scout. Cordero, a non-ranked, up to sixth. He's already at 70% scouting, but that's a guy that maybe we can get later on. The closing pitching tends to get scouted anyways, um, but that's a guy I'll probably maybe finish up. Like I said, with already at that 70, it's tough to say. And then we did, go after a catcher. As far as the regional scouting. So in here it might be just the top prospect, Vila. Maybe he's outside the box of what I've seen. I keep scouting, catching, and hoping to find something. Maybe that's the guy, and maybe we can pick him in the first. It looks like he go from 12 to 15, certainly possible. And then we did scout a region for the first baseman. We scouted the central. Likely here, just going through, and really I'm just looking at the difference in draft ranks. So Gutierrez might be a guy there. He looks to be jumping up. I feel a little safer when they move up the board, and they tend to be pretty good prospects just regardless. As far as second baseman, I think we're pretty much done there. We might go after maybe one other guy. And another thing you can do, you don't have to go off your team rank. If you see somebody that maybe you didn't scout regionally, um, you can always try and find them here. The draft ranks are still going to change, even though you're not regionally scouting these guys. Um, so you might find, I mean, that guy moved up just 10 spots, and we didn't scout him at all. But there's stuff to find in here. I mean, this guy moved up 10 spots too. He's pretty well scouted, but maybe you go after the non-ranked guy there. It's just kind of up to you. We might be done with second baseman, kind of bank on that guy we scouted in the first week or week 9, whatever you want to call it. And then for third baseman, kind of a weak position for this draft. So we might just skip on the third baseman. Shortstop, you tend to find a lot of prospects there. Um, like I said, it's completely up to you. Ryan Anderson might be a guy that we scout. Just kind of depends. And then, left fielders, we scouted those 2 left fielders. I think we're good there. Center fielder tends to have some depth. Um, don't know if there's anybody really jumps out. I don't know if we'll scout a center fielder. It's hard to say. Um, that guy might be a guy to like. I mean, we don't need a center fielder anyways, but I tend to find some good prospects in center field. So just something to look at. And then we didn't look at right fielders at all. You can see they're all kind of went down anyways. So probably stay away from right fielders. And yeah, that's kind of it. We've got 12 more guys to scout, and a lot of those are going to be pitchers. So it's tough to get to all the guys that you want, but you just kind of make your best judgment and kind of go from there. So I won't show you the rest of the weeks. Like I said, I kind of pointed out a couple guys that I'm interested in looking at, but I won't bore you with each and every one. But hopefully we have a good mix. So for next time, what we'll do is we'll be backed up right against the draft, which is a huge day for us. That's kind of where we're gonna try and draft the future of the White Sox, hopefully. And then the trade deadline is at the end of the month as well too. So with the trade deadline and the draft, there'll be a lot of change to our team. Hopefully we can unload some of these guys that are kind of weighing down our pocketbooks, and hopefully we can bring in some young talent. It's going to be tough to get guys to start right away. I just have a feeling through trades and stuff like that. Don't really have anybody as far as big time names that we can trade unless we decide to trade like Cease or somebody like that. But most of our guys are in a spot where they're not nearly as high as I'd like them to be, as far as overall rating wise. Um, Andrew Vaughn, I guess that was the big news. We had to move Andrew Vaughn to second because of injuries. But Andrew Vaughn at second, obviously not going to work out there. But all these guys are kind of the same player, right? They're you know 26, 27 years old, and they're low 70s. They might be hard to find guys there, so we may have just to go and try and find all prospects. But that'll be next time. So it'll be an exciting time to kind of see what our team is worth on the trade market. And then hopefully we can get to the off season. That's where we can get some more trades done. We can get our free agents, where I think that's probably where we're going to find most of our immediate talent, which is why I want these guys off the books, so that way we can spend money in free agency and kind of, get guys in here and, get winning. The crazy thing is we're 500 right now, so that's that's good and bad. It's good because that means our team's playing well, and their overall ratings are going to go up. But I really want a high draft pick for next year. So we'll just kind of see how the rest of the season goes. next time as well. And yeah, it's going to be an exciting episode. And thank you guys so much for joining me today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Help me out any way you can. If you have any pointers for me or just want to chat, leave it in the comments. I'll try to get to as many as I can, and we'll see you guys next time.